All right, welcome to Take Your Lead podcast. Thank you so much for joining us once again and being part of a community of leaders who are intentional and purposeful about their growth. It's so beautiful to always intentionally take small, gradual steps towards intentionally developing yourself. Truth of the matter is you are responsible for your own personal growth. And if you do not take charge, no one else can take charge of it for yourself. As we always say, there are different types of growth. There's accidental growth where you grow, but you're not too sure, why am I growing? How did I grow? And there's the second part of growth, which is where you become a bit more strategic about your growth and you seek for growth moments. And then there's the third level, which is team growth, where your growth benefits those around you. And I'm saying this to speak to how today is a podcast episode that will really enlarge us within growth. I am super excited and so thrilled to be joined by a phenomenal leader, incredible, brilliant mind who has done amazing things with a big heart. And one of the beautiful things I love about what she's done in her personal space is how she's broken so many stereotypes as to how women can rise up, not only through favor, but through competence. So ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by Pertunia Sibanyoni. Maybe just to give a bit of background as to who she is. She's currently the CEO of InspectaCar. She oversees business operations for both the franchise and financial services and is responsible for building the InspectaCar brand. She's a graduate from the University of Durban who holds a Bachelor of Science degree in majoring in psychology and physiology, which is something I'm so passionate about. And she did so many things. Literally, her resume is so loaded. It's just amazing. It's really so you cannot but be inspired. She did leadership from Gibbs. She has done so many amazing things. And one of the things I honor about her is the fact that she's passionate about women empowerment as well as mentorship, which is part of what we will talk to. And she's currently formally mentoring 2 young Black females at West Bank, and she intentionally is being mentored by the guru of mentorship, Tony Frost, and it shows as to how, in as much as she's pouring to others, she herself is being poured into, and she's just so well-rounded in all that she does. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome onto the podcast, Pertunia, with a warm round of applause wherever you are listening from. I know some of you are listening while driving. Please do keep your hands on the steering wheel. If you're on gym, on the treadmill, wherever you are, just to give her a warm round of applause as she joins us today. I'm so excited, and thank you so much, Pertunia, for joining us. I've been looking forward to having this conversation with you. So welcome to Take Your Lead podcast.
Thank you, Mzwa. I'm also very excited to be here talking to Umkhaya.
Oh, yes.
much easier.
Thank you so much, Pertunia. I think one of the things that she said, Umkhaya, for those who I know, most of our audience as well is from around the globe. We have about 72 countries that are actually part of the podcast. And so Umkhaya speaks of someone who's part of your close immediate community. So she grew up in Witbank. She's based in Gauteng now. And funny enough, one of the things about her is she grew up, maybe to tee it off there, I'm going to ask you this because her family has been prominent. Literally, her father has been one of the pioneering business leaders within transport and great things that they've done. For those Basa Witbank, they would know him, Babu Sibanyoni. And how has that shaped you and the person that you've become, as you maybe also speak to some of the transitions that you've made as Pertunia that have landed you to where you currently are now within your leadership journey?
So I was born in Linville, Witbank. So my dad was a mechanic, then he became a driver, and his last job at Highveld Steel was fleet operations manager. And then when he retired, he actually went and started his own business from taxis, buses, and trucks, basically in and around Witbank and the mining areas. And then my mom was a domestic worker. And then at the time, she then started selling what they called soft goods at that time, steel wool. I was young at the time, but my older siblings, Zibo Bebangena, Elokshini, Bateng is steel wool. And then she moved into selling clothes. into the mining area. I mean, she was big as the local boutique, a wheat bank. That's how, entrepreneurial she was. So for me, I was daddy's little girl. And that's why me and him shared the love of cars and all of that. So being daddy's little girl, I had this eager to succeed notion and much bolder because of the bond that I had with my dad. And the good thing that, you asked where it started, my dad was a leader and he led by example. He showed me respect anyone, irregardless of who they are. Respect is very important. And also, he always said, against all odds, if you want to do something, focus your attention on it, as well as be humble, as an individual. And he always said, you need to always be the best, version of yourself as a person. So for me, I think those were things that shaped me to be a leader at a very young age. I mean, I remember I went to Greendale High School. So back in 1992, we had to write an entrance exam, to be accepted into multiracial school. And we made it, a lot of us, Abu Tabi, so Mabokwane, we were the first ones to be a Greendale. And then Greendale was very strict. You know what I mean? So for me, that's what shaped me to be who I am as a leader. And my dad played a very crucial role for being who I am, leaving his legacy, so I think for me, every day I think about him. His death was sudden. He was in a car accident. And also it came at a time where, I used to talk with him being ambitious and I want to be a CEO under 40 as well. And then when I got into this job, I was appointed. He passed away 2 days later.
Sure.
But I got to tell him the day I signed the offer, and he gave me a sharp, to say, well done, my girl. So I think for me, leadership also started. I mean, I remember in Standard 7, a group of us attended the leadership program with some schools in Gauteng. At the time, I was 14. So already I was demonstrating leadership skills, so that's typically where leadership started for me.
That's brilliant, Pertunia. I'm actually so thrilled and so impressed by your journey. You mentioned Utabiso Mabokwane, who, for those who are part of our community, would know him. He's been a recent guest. We had a fascinating conversation with him on building your business from the ground up, and such a brilliant mind. And he also facilitated the connection with Pertunia. And I'm so thrilled as to how, or rather not thrilled, but surprised as to, I'm loving the texture or the quality of leaders that you guys are, given how you had to literally, it was not handed to you guys on a silver platter. And we'll talk more to that as we continue, but you worked your way up and you are doing exceptionally well. And I love even how you guys are keeping in touch and you're still growing and still doing life together. You said something about how you and your father shared a passion, just on a lighter note, of cars. Just to check, so are you a Mercedes or BM person between
Mercedes-Benz, oh boy, Mercedes-Benz. The sound of that growling engine of an AMG.
Oh, yes.
I feel like a kid in a candy store.
I was hoping you'd say that I'm Mercedes any day. I do a bit of both, but funny enough, it's different feels, but Mercedes any day, anytime. It's the best or nothing.
It's luxury, it's comfort, it's speed. You need all of that. I find the BMW, yes, it's got the speed, but it's not comfortable. It's a sports car. So
sure.
Yeah,
it's just comfort and elegance, though. That's incredible. Maybe I want to just pull a few threads. I know we will just speak to a few questions now. You said something about how your father also taught you, and again, my sincere condolences on the loss of your father and your mother recently, as to leading by example is one of the things that he taught you about leadership. What would you say is the importance then of leaders being able to live out their message? so that it's not just me leading by my talk, but I'm leading by example. I'm leading by what I do.
So remember, being a leader, you expose yourself, and also being a leader is not about you. It's about those around you. Hence, that's why it's important to walk the talk, and also, it's to leave a message as a leader. It's the right thing to do. It's called integrity. And my dad used to say, integrity before profits. Do the right thing. Don't be after the money so that it compromises your values. And also, one thing about leadership, you may forget what I said to you, Mzwandile, but the one thing you'll never forget how I made you feel as an individual. So that's why it's important as a leader to be that individual that embraces your own values and be conscious of those ones that are around you as well.
Wow.
So that's what for me it's about.
I know part of what you do is, and thank you for that, is mentorship and coaching. So what would you say to someone who wants to be a better leader? Someone who's saying, as in, I want to be a leader, but I don't know where to start. Where do they start? What do they do? What do they think about?
So the first thing is about know yourself and your values. What is it that you stand for as Pertunia? What is your personal brand, and what is the purpose? The why. When you have the why, no matter how challenging the situation is, you become confident because you become also comfortable to make mistakes you can learn from, because you know the why, the purpose, that why do I wake up every day? Even if it's multiple faceted besides your day job, because we tend to always focus on the job and forget that, hey, actually I belong to a community as well. I'm a sister, I am this, I am that. And that's the one. And the other thing, do not let society define who you must be. Walk your milestones in your own pace and live up to your own set of values. Because if you got your own values, remember, if you want to also enter into the corporate world has got its set of corporate culture and values as well. So as you start a career being a leader, so in summary, your personal brand and your values at the start of your leadership journey. That's for me advice I will give. The more you know yourself, personal brand and values, then you can be a great leader.
That's brilliant. That's so brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Pertunia. So firstly, know yourself. I love how you spoke about know your why. I think who's this? I think it's Simon Sinek who has a fascinating book on starting with the why. And I think that becomes important because that's what will set you apart. Ukuzazi, who am I? And it will then inform even the values. I love how you spoke about integrity before profit, because if you know that you're a person of integrity, it then becomes easier to not crumble to the pressure when you find yourself in different spaces. So if as a leader, podcast family, that's just pure gold. The past minute or so, if you're writing, that's literally pure gold. Start with yourself, find your why, and then from there, begin to figure out your own set of values that you need to live up to. So thank you so much for that, Pertunia. Then maybe now, at a personal level, I know that you are a learner. You keep learning. You keep, like, your resume says that you are. I'm sure now, even now, there's quite a lot of things that you're learning. But currently, in this current season where you're at, and the season of life, what are you currently learning within your space?
Interesting. 2020 was a rough year, both from a personal level and from a corporate level.
Sure.
And I think with quite a lot of uncertainty that COVID lockdown brought, fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
I think I've learned, and I'm still learning as a leader, to be agile and resilient.
Wow.
You have to make quick decisions with limited information. As a leader, they look up to you to be decisive and say, it's lockdown. As dealerships, we're not going to be operating in level 5. And I lobbied for the dealerships to open under level 4, but at the same time, I'm saying, now our business model more than ever requires us to have a digital presence. So I had to demonstrate that to my dealers and say, we're going to be doing month end. We did month end in a day. It was never done before, but we had to do it to prepare for lockdown, because everybody now had to leave the workplace and be at home. So that agileness and being resilient and saying, you know what, it's a decision that I have to make now. I've got limited information. However, my gut feel tells me it's the right thing to do. And then the second one, people are going through the most from a mental wellness perspective.
Yeah.
Have empathy, just care. We used to working together, officini, we see each other. Now you're working from home. You're not sure how did someone wake up today? What challenges are they facing at home? So to be there as a leader and just check in and say, guys, how you doing? Let's just chat, talk about the family, what's happening. Kids now being at home, studying online. Other day they have to go to school. So all of those things, it's just to have empathy, because you don't know what people are going through. Not everyone manages a situation the same. And also, as a leader, with the empathy, encourage them to use the tools that are provided by the company. Pick up that phone, call iCares and say, I'm not okay. Get a professional to help you deal with what you're dealing with. Because, it's 2 years now, almost, and we're still at it. There's talk of a fourth wave that's still coming. People, unfortunately, are losing their lives. One day you was talking to someone, the next day you hear they no more. So that empathy of caring and also just picking up that phone and saying, I know you are dealing with this. How can I help? It goes such a long way. So it's something that definitely every day I think and say, okay, so and so, even my dealers is going through this. Even that text that says, I know you're fighting COVID, hang in there. Let us know if you need any help.
I love that. I love two things from what you are saying. Firstly, you spoke about agility and how we need to be agile as leaders, which I think is a trait that will set leaders apart in whatever they do. But my question to you would then be, how, maybe to you at a personal level, how have you experienced agility where you had to change swiftly? Worse, because you're a CEO, it's easier to try U-turn when you're driving a smaller car, but when you driving a bus or a truck or a train, you can't just turn because there's a lot at stake. And with the workload and the weight of responsibility that you have, even the decisions that you make, they not only affect you, but they affect the whole organization. And how has agility played through for you within that context?
So, if your strategy is very clear and solid in terms of, what is it that you are doing and, who's your customer and also being part of a franchise.
Sure.
I've got two customers. We've got the end consumer out there, and the franchisees themselves are our customers. So if you've got your strategy, don't be hung on to, we want to do social media marketing in a specific way. If it's not working, change it. You know what I mean? What we always do, Tina, when we have a campaign, we do a post-implementation review, which means that when we start the campaign, we set a set of objectives or KPIs to say, this is what we want to achieve, and this is where we are, and this is where we want to land off. At the end of the campaign, then we review and say, okay, this is what we achieved, what happened, and what are the learnings. And these things are documented so that, you don't have to do this anymore. If we've done it, we've learned. That's being agile. Be flexible, but don't taint your strategy too much. But your tactical approach, That's where you can be flexible and be agile. Because competition out there is also not sleeping, you know. You need to also be aware that they are watching what you're doing. And also as a franchisor, you know, you say, I have the know-how. So your franchisees are looking up to you to say, guide me. This is what I need to do. And for me, that is why I get involved, not just in local research, but global as well. I recently, in June, was part of a panel hosted by Deloitte, talking about the future of auto retailing, you know. So you have to keep yourself abreast in terms of what's happening abroad so that you're flexible enough and test. And I was quite happy in that, you know, the work we started doing 2 years ago is now coming to fruition, and we've already been embracing it because we are flexible enough at that point. When I saw this and I said, hang on, this is something we can be a leader on and embrace now. And for now, to us, it's a no-brainer. It's something that we've always done. It's you know, we do it all the time.
Wow. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. You spoke again as well to the second part, which was empathy. And to empathy, I think and I just wanted to check because you also gave us practical tips as to how sending that check-in message. I know COVID is hard. How are you doing and reaching out? Any other tips maybe that you might give or you can give, especially within the virtual space? Because I think now it's hard to communicate care because there's distance involved. It's easier to show someone I care within the office confinements, buying them, being there, hugging them, taking them for coffee, whatever. But now it's a bit different. How can we now translate empathy digitally or virtually, or rather working from home? How best? Any other tips maybe that you might have that leaders can use to reach out and communicate care to the people that they lead and serve with?
Yeah, I mean, also, you know, you need to respect boundaries. So if you set them as a leader, you must also respect boundaries of your team as well. So if I'm encouraging people to engage with the family and not be working quite late every day, I can now be the one at 9 o'clock, I'm phoning one of my team members, but yet I've set that boundary, but I'm the one breaking the boundary. And also utilize the virtual tools that we get provided. We've got this cool thing that we have, it's called Cortana. It's linked to MS Teams. What it gives you at the beginning of the week, it says, this is your week starting, schedule time for focus time. So it blocks out your calendar for you to be focusing on other things. There's take a break, there's learning as well, you know, because you lose time. And we've also got Udemy, which I encourage my team members. I laughed the other day, one of my team members says, hey, I'm learning how to play guitar. You know, it's got nothing to do with work, but he's got a guitar, doesn't know how to play it. He's learning how to do that. So that gives you space virtually that if I'm on focus time, no one can call me on my Teams because it's set to a do not disturb.
Wow.
You know, because imagine now you are in a board meeting the whole day virtually, you know, 8 to 4, 5, 6. So if you don't have those things in between on other days, you're going to burn out.
That's true.
So use the digital tools that we've been provided to make sure that it gives you the time to be able to, it's about personal mastery as well. You know, so there's virtual tools that help you. Udemy is fantastic. And the nice thing I like about Udemy, when you do an e-learning with them, you also get issued a certificate.
Yeah.
You know, I did a whole course on digital marketing last year, you know, and I was very fascinated about the wealth of information that I've learned, you know, just to upskill myself and do that. So virtual tools are there. You must use them and you must have the discipline to use them and also respect your own boundaries and others' boundaries as well.
Wow, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for that. So leaders, we set boundaries, but we also need to respect them.
Yeah.
And think, because oftentimes I think we tend to be the ones who set them, and then we think we've got an exemption. And I think we also set tone by so doing, so that the people that we lead also respect them themselves. But if my senior or my whoever I'm reporting to respects this, so I also need to respect it myself. And I also love how you spoke as to how we need to have outlets for just to recoup, to be able to avoid burnout, because I think I'm for the thought of how prevention is better than cure, how oftentimes we can prevent certain things rather than taking a curative approach. And I love even the practical tools that you shared with us, Kolana and Udemy, which I think will go a long way within personal growth and personal mastery, as you've shared. And now maybe to you've got a incredible record within the things that you've done and climbing the ladder of success. Speak more maybe to your journey and some of the personal sacrifices that you had to make in order for you to experience the level of success that you're currently experiencing, and how your journey has been. And I know it comes with sacrifice, because I know in order to go up, you need to sacrifice. And how has that played out for you?
So my professional career started at Shell in 2004. I was the first Black female area manager at the time. And then there's an accreditation program that one has to do 6 months in the job. It's called Flying Solo. So after I successfully completed that Flying Solo, I was offered the opportunity to go into the Shell graduate program. And I was accepted as a second year. And I got to spend time with Shell graduates across the globe in The Hague, which was quite good for me from an exposure perspective. And then I did a couple of roles. Also, at the time, I was a lubricant sales manager for South Africa, and looking after Swaziland at the time when it's still Shell had Shell in Swaziland. And, you know, I did so well. I was placed in the top 19 countries. I was number 3 in the Shell global lubricant sector. I think at the time I did about an 8% growth for that. And then I moved back into retail. And a nice thing then, I was working for Global Lubricants. So it was a global business, not just South African based. And then I moved back into Shell retail, and I was able to lead the service stations as a central district manager. I was looking after 175 service stations. And then my last role then at Shell, I was the retail transformation manager. I was the one that drafted the transformation policy and also concluded the cooperation agreement with NEF. And I'm proud to say that we got in not just Black entrepreneurs, but Black females to own and operate their service stations as well. So for me, I think that's a proud moment that I had done with Shell. And also remember, first and ever company that I worked for. So I spent 12 years with Shell. And when I was at Shell, I also, you know, my love for Ferrari got fueled. And I had this once in a lifetime opportunity to meet Michael Schumacher, Felipe Massa, and Marc Genet. So for me, that was like quite an aha moment. So in a nutshell, I had a very good career at Shell. My growth was very much accelerated. I was also offered the opportunity to study for an MBA as well, funded by the company. And now, you know, leadership is what guides the culture in an organization. And at the time, you know, I've honestly have reached my ceiling. I knew quite a lot. And I was in a boys' club, you know, that was not with a good leadership in terms of they made me feel like I'm in a boys' club. And also, you know, I'm the one that knew the work. And then I also had to be the one that has the saving grace as well. Because you can imagine, I've been in the industry for long. I knew people from the Department of Energy. etc., etc. I always like to grow my networks wherever I am and use them meaningfully. So unfortunately, a sacrifice that I had to make, I made a decision to leave Shell. It was not an easy one. A company that I've grown so much, that has done so well for me. So for me, it was a big sacrifice to say, you know what, I'm leaving. And when I left, I didn't know what I was going to be doing. I had an idea to say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur for now, but if ever I go back to corporate, it must be for an executive role, either ICT or banking. And I took a year's sabbatical. At that time, I was running my own consulting business, basically helping startups or business turnaround in the franchising space, because, you know, that's what I know very well. It was quite funny. My last day with Shell, I was on Power FM. We were actually celebrating the cooperation agreement with NEF. We had Shell global leaders there, and they're like, wow, you're leaving us. And, you know, because I didn't look like someone who's leaving, but it was actually my last day, you know. And 10 days later, I had a gig. A lady owned her own oil company. And she said, look, I want you to tap into the lubricant space. I need to hire someone. Please help me with crafting, you know, what should this person be doing? What qualifications should they have, etc. You know, and I had my first invoice, consulting gig. And they learned to know, they said, anything that you need to draft, you must charge 4 hours, you know, learning the game. And can you believe it or not, I didn't have a CV. So I had to go on to CV Center and pay people to draft me a CV, because internally I was always recognized by the work that I do, and got promoted that way. So I never had to sell myself and have a CV. So it's one of those things that I had to now sit back and think about all the things that I've been doing, etc., etc. So yeah, I think for me, that's the biggest sacrifice that I've made. But I think I made the right decision. A year later, I was headhunted into Westbank, and I believe I'm flourishing in the automotive industry. So sometimes you just, you know, you do something, but, you know, even if you're uncertain, just think of how it makes you feel at the time and why you're doing it. And the good thing as well, when I was in that sabbatical, I got to spend 2 weeks in Thailand with my parents. And it turned out to be the last holiday I had with my dad before he passed on. So other things, you know, they happen for a reason. You know, for them, it was their first time overseas holiday with my mom.